We live in a world obsessed with visibility. We polish our profiles, showcase our job titles, and wear our ambitions like badges. But in our pursuit of being seen, we often forget something sacred: the inner flame, the quiet calling, the deep work that truly defines us. When that flame is exposed too early to the winds of public opinion, it doesn't grow stronger. It begins to flicker and fade. The true power of meaningful work lies not in early validation, but in intentional silence that protects its formation. When you announce, "I'm writing a book," or "I'm launching a business," too soon, you unintentionally drain the energy meant for creation and replace it with the illusion of completion. This isn't about hiding, it's about reverence. It's about understanding that sacred things need darkness to take root. In a world that shouts, sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is say nothing and simply do the work. Let it mature in stillness. And one day, when it's fully formed and unshakable, let your work speak, not through declarations, but through undeniable presence. Let your life make the noise, not your voice. True creation is not loud, it's sacred, slow, and often invisible in its early stages. Just like a seed must remain underground before it breaks the surface, your dreams, projects, and transformations need time to root themselves deeply before facing the world. When you expose them too soon, seeking approval or recognition, you risk their premature death. The process of becoming, whether it's writing a book, starting a new path, or evolving into a new version of yourself, requires gestation. It must be nurtured in silence, away from projections, judgments, and even praise. This is not about fear or secrecy, but about honoring the integrity of your inner work. Just as a child forms in the womb, your deepest callings must be held close until they're strong enough to stand on their own. When you speak too early, you invite noise into a space that needs clarity. You dilute the urgency, the hunger, and the sacred pressure that fuels real transformation. Let your silence be your sanctuary. Let the unseen hours, the quiet dedication, and the private labor be the ground in which your purpose grows. And when the time is right, your work will rise, not with noise, but with undeniable power.
There is immense power in presence, not in how loudly you speak, but in how deeply you are felt. In a world addicted to noise, those who move in silence, with calm strength and grounded attention, become unforgettable. It's not the person who floods the room with their achievements that lingers in our memory, but the one who listens fully, asks with sincerity, and responds without ego. Presence is not performance, it's authenticity embodied. The quiet one, who doesn't rush to explain themselves, often holds the greatest depth. Their mystery invites curiosity, not because they are hiding something, but because they don't feel the need to prove anything. In every meaningful relationship, whether love, friendship, or mentorship, it's the slow unfolding that builds trust. What's known too quickly often loses its magic, but what is revealed through action, integrity, and quiet consistency becomes unforgettable. Real power is felt, not declared. It's in the calm gaze, the steady tone, the thoughtful pause. Presence doesn't seek attention, it commands it, effortlessly. In a world chasing visibility, choose to embody depth. Let people feel who you are long before they ever know your name. Silence is not weakness, it is sacred protection. In the early stages of any meaningful pursuit, whether it's a dream, a project, or a personal transformation, the urge to share too soon can be dangerous. When we expose our vision before it has taken root, we invite the world's projections, doubts, envy, judgments, even misplaced encouragement into a space that is still fragile. Not everyone is conscious of the power their words carry.
A casual comment, a skeptical laugh, or a fearful warning can quietly plant seeds of doubt within us. And if we're not grounded, those seeds begin to grow, weakening our original fire. This is why discernment is essential. Not every idea deserves an audience. Not every voice deserves a seat at your inner table. True strength is knowing when to speak and when to guard your vision like a sacred flame. It's not about arrogance, it's about protecting what's still becoming. Trust the timing of your process. Share only with those who can truly hold space for your becoming. Let silence be your sanctuary, not because you fear being misunderstood, but because you understand the power of what you're building.
We live in an age where applause is often mistaken for purpose, where the spotlight is seen as proof of worth. But real fulfillment doesn't come from being seen, it comes from being aligned. When you create from a place of inner truth, not for validation, but for the love of the work itself, everything changes. The world may not understand you at first, it may not cheer, but when your drive comes from within, you become unshakable. Michelangelo didn't carve David while asking for feedback. He worked in solitude, guided by something deeper than approval. The moment we stop creating for applause and start creating for alignment, our work becomes a form of prayer, quiet, intentional, and sacred. The soul doesn't thrive in noise, it blooms in silence. Don't chase recognition. Instead, root yourself in truth. Let the joy of the process be enough. Let it shape you. And when the time is right, let your results speak louder than any announcement ever could. The deepest satisfaction doesn't come from being praised. It comes from being true. When you stop performing for applause and start creating from a place of inner devotion, everything shifts. The work becomes a sacred ritual, not a show. The joy returns not because others are watching, but because you're fully present with your purpose. In a world that constantly pressures you to share, to prove, to promote, it takes real strength to remain faithful to something no one else sees. But that's where the magic happens, in the quiet hours, in the unseen effort, in the decision to keep going, not for attention, but for truth. When you no longer depend on the world's reaction to feel worthy, you become powerful in a way that can't be shaken. Your craft becomes cleaner, your purpose becomes clearer, and your identity becomes undeniable, not because you shouted it, but because you lived it. True greatness doesn't need to be announced. It radiates through presence, through integrity, through consistency. Let your work be the thunder after the quiet storm you've endured. Let your results speak louder than your words. And most of all, let the process itself be your reward. Wholeness doesn't come from being seen, it comes from being real. In a world obsessed with exposure and validation, the one who creates quietly, who moves from inner truth instead of external applause, holds the deepest power. When you no longer need to be recognized to feel worthy, you become free. Free from trends, free from judgment, free from the emotional roller coaster of public opinion. Your worth is no longer tied to likes, titles, or praise. It's rooted in who you are when no one's watching. The artist painting alone at midnight, the mother writing quietly after her children sleep, the scientist experimenting not for fame, but for understanding. These are the ones who live fully. Their power lies in their devotion, not their display. Let that be your standard. Don't live to be seen, live to be whole. And when the world finally sees you, let it be because you were real, not because you were loud. In a culture that constantly pushes us to be visible, to share, to declare, to perform, one of the most powerful things we can do is pause. The message is clear. Real growth, real identity, and real purpose are not built in the spotlight but in silence.
The lesson is not to hide, but to protect what matters most. Just like a seed needs darkness to grow, your dreams need privacy to take root. Announcing your goals too early can drain the energy needed to achieve them. Instead of chasing approval, build strength in solitude. Instead of performing who you are, live it, consistently, quietly, with integrity. When the foundation is strong, the results will speak for themselves. So next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, ask, am I doing this for truth or attention? The more grounded you are in your purpose, the less you'll need validation. That's not weakness, that's power.